My name is Mike Weed. I am a stroke survivor, and I ride the world on 3 wheels. This is Roll Toward Recovery, and today I want to take you with me on a ride that has been on my bucket list for a long time, the route of the Hiawatha, on the border of Idaho and Montana. If you've never heard of it, the Hiawatha is an old mountain railroad turned into a bike trail. It's famous for long, dark tunnels, high trestle bridges, and green mountains as far as you can see. For most people, it's an adventure. For me, as a stroke survivor with aphasia, it's also a test and a celebration. In my wallet, I carry a small card that says, "Hello, I have aphasia. It is a communication disorder. I have trouble with speaking, writing, and reading, but my intellect is fine." That card is my little helper in the world. It tells people what my words sometimes can't. My speech is slow. I search for words. Sometimes I get stuck. But my brain is still in there, thinking, planning, dreaming up big rides. I was in Idaho that week for TaterTOT, a big recumbent trike gathering in Kellogg. I saved one day just for this ride on the route of the Hiawatha with my friend Will. It was my bucket list ride and proof that life after stroke can still be good. The story starts in a small town cafe. It's morning. I'm in Idaho, in a cozy place with books on the wall and coffee smells in the air. On one shelf, there's a bright yellow sign, "Smile, you're on camera," with a happy face and a little security camera picture. I smile because that's what this whole trip feels like. Smile, Mike. You're on camera. You're miles from home. You're about to ride a legendary trail, and you're doing it with your trike and your friends. Across from me is my friend Will. Will is wearing a bright neon shirt and a hat that says Rail Trails Conservancy. He has that calm, kind face you see in the best riding partners. He's a stroke survivor too. Different stroke, different story, but the same kind of long road back. We met through this crazy adaptive cycling world where people show up with all kinds of 3-wheeled bikes, braces, stories, and scars. Very quickly, Will became one of those people I felt a bond with. He gets what it means to fight for every mile. We drink our coffee, we share a few words. I don't talk a lot, but the connection is there, in the way we smile, in the way we're both a little nervous and excited. After coffee, I pull out my phone and open Strava. On the screen is a 3D map of green mountains and a tan line carving up and across them. The app shows my planned ride title, Hiawatha with Connecticut Mike. Elevation, 4,149 feet. Distance, 0.0 miles. We haven't started yet. I stare at that screen and think, okay, let's put some miles on this. We pack up and head to the trailhead. The road up to the Hiawatha is already a kind of adventure. Trees wrap around the road and the mountains lean in from both sides. When we finally arrive, there it is, the big wooden entrance gate with a sign stretched across the top, Route of the Hiawatha. On one side is the ticket booth. On the other side are information boards and people walking around in helmets and bright jerseys getting ready for their ride. I roll my trike out of the vehicle and feel that mix of excitement and nerves that always hits me before a big ride. I check the tires, the brakes, the battery, the mirrors. I clip my day pass to the frame of the trike. It's a pink tag that reads, Route of the Hiawatha, Mountain Bike Trail, June 25th, 2025, adult. By the end of the day, it will be covered in mud, but right now it's clean and fresh, like a ticket into a new chapter. There are history signs nearby. One is titled Not So Lucky Swedes. Another is Busy Bogle Spur. They talk about the old mines and logging lines that used this railroad 100 years ago, men hauling ore, timber, and hope through these mountains. Companies that rose and fell, long trains pulled by big steam engines. I think about those people. They came here for work, not for fun. And here I am in the same mountains, not swinging a pickaxe or coupling train cars, but rolling a 3-wheeled trike with a stroke-damaged brain and a very stubborn heart. We say a few last words, tighten straps, and then I point the trike toward the first tunnel. If you've never done the Hiawatha, the first tunnel is the star of the show. It's long, cold, and completely dark in the middle. You need good lights and a little courage. I roll forward, and the daylight shrinks behind me. The air turns cool and damp. My headlight picks up old stone walls and wet tracks on the ground. My wheels hum on the packed dirt. I hear voices echoing from riders ahead of me and behind me. In the dark, my other senses sharpen. I feel every little bump. I listen to the sound of water dripping off the ceiling. I am aware of my breathing and of my heart beating a little faster than usual. Living with aphasia and a stroke body, I sometimes feel like I'm riding through a tunnel in my everyday life. The world is loud and bright and fast. My words can't always keep up. It's easy to feel lost. But inside this real tunnel, I feel something different. I feel strong. I feel focused. All I need to do is keep the trike straight and keep moving. Halfway through, I laugh out loud. I'm really doing this. I'm really in here. And then, near the end of the tunnel, there's a surprise. As the light from the far end grows brighter, my headlight catches movement off to the side. Right near the mouth of the tunnel, where daylight reaches in, but the ceiling is still dripping, a deer is standing in a pale patch of light. It's calm and quiet, licking the damp rock where salty minerals seep out of the wall, a natural salt lick at the edge of the tunnel. The deer lifts its head and looks at me for a moment. Then, gentle as a ghost, it turns back and keeps working on the salty wall. In a place built for loud trains and heavy metal, there is this soft, wild animal living its life on the edge of the dark. I roll past, shaking my head and smiling. This ride is already more than I expected. Out of the tunnel, the world explodes into green again. Tall pines, blue sky, distant mountains. The trail follows the old railroad grade, so the slope is gentle, but I still have to work. The gravel crunches under my tires, and I can feel the tiny slips and slides under the front wheels. There are high trestle bridges where you can look straight down and see tiny streams and trees far below. There are more tunnels, some short, some longer, each one its own little echo chamber of laughter and freewheeling. Every so often I stop to look out over the valley. The hills stretch out in overlapping layers of dark and light green, with the jagged ridges of the mountains in the distance. Clouds drift overhead, casting slow shadows on the trees. On one of these stops, I pull off to a little side area where a milepost stands by the water. Will is there, leaning back in his recumbent trike, wearing his bright yellow shirt and smiling at the camera. His trike is parked with the river behind him and the white numbers of the mile marker standing tall. It's one of those simple images that stays with you. A stroke survivor, relaxed and happy, sitting in his adaptive bike on a famous trail he once might have thought he would never ride. We talk a bit, in our own way. My sentences are shorter, and I sometimes pause to find the right words. But he's patient. He understands. We don't need a lot of language to share this moment. The trikes say a lot by themselves. We keep rolling. As the day warms up, the dust gets thicker. It settles on my frame, on my tires, on my shoes. Sometimes I can taste a little grit in the air. I don't mind. Dust means I'm out there doing things, not sitting on a couch. There's a photo of me from one of the climbs. I'm standing next to my trike on the dusty road, wearing a bright green shirt and orange shorts covered in white dust like I have been rolled in flour. My arms are out a little, as if I'm saying, "Can you believe this? Look at this mess." But you can see the grin on my face. This is the kind of mess I love. We keep grinding up the road. The views get bigger. There are concrete barriers along the edge, and beyond them, a sea of trees and ridges and sky. It feels like we're riding on the edge of the world. At one overlook, I stop and lie back in the trike seat, looking out between the metal cables of a safety railing. The mountains roll away in every direction. It's quiet, just wind, birds, and the soft ticking of cooling metal from my bike. Moments like that are why I travel. Why I fight through the effort of packing, flying, organizing, and yes, dealing with communication challenges. It's not easy for me to make phone calls, to book things, to have long conversations with strangers. Aphasia turns simple tasks into puzzles. But when I'm here, looking at this view from my trike, it feels worth every bit of effort. The Hiawatha isn't just nature, by the way. It's also history written into the hills. Back near one of the sidings, there are those big boards that talk about the not-so-lucky Swedes and the Bogle Spur logging railroad. They tell stories of mines that made big promises but not much profit, of logging lines that snaked along the river pulling heavy loads of timber, of workers who rode these rails with boots full of mud and pockets full of hopes. I imagine them looking at these same mountains but with a different feeling. For them, the mountains meant danger, labor, long hours, and slim pay. For me, the mountains are a playground and a classroom. They teach me patience, persistence, and the joy of movement. As the miles add up, my body feels it. My legs are working. My hands get a little stiff from the grips. My brain gets tired too. Stroke fatigue is real. But I keep drinking, keep eating small snacks, keep checking in with my body. Am I okay? Yes. Can I do another mile? Yes. There's also a mental soundtrack playing in my head. Part of it is fear. What if I crash? What if I run out of strength? What if my speech gets too messy when I need to ask for help? But there's another voice too. It says, Mike, you've done this before. You rode the Erie Canal. You climbed Mount Washington. You've crossed states on your trike. You can get through a day on the Hiawatha. So I listen to that voice. Eventually, the official ride ends and it's time to head back to town. There's a photo from later that day. Two trikes are in the back of Will's electric Tesla pickup, strapped down with bright green ties. The truck looks like it drove out of the future, rolling down a small Idaho main street with brick buildings, cafe tables, and a stop sign on the corner. The trikes in the bed look tired and proud, like working horses after a long day in the field. That's how we finished the day. Trikes dusty, riders dusty, all of us riding back in Will's truck, telling stories and feeling that good kind of tired you get after a big adventure. We pass under highway bridges on the drive, watching the hills slide by. Through the windshield, there's a spotted hillside with patches of trees and open slopes under the interstate. I look at the mountains and think, I was in there today. Somewhere up there, my tire tracks are still in the dust. But the day isn't the end of the story. The Hiawatha ride is just one big hill in the middle of a whole week called TaterTOT. After the mountain, we roll back down into Kellogg, back to the hotels, the campground, and the little world of recumbent riders that shows up every year. Around the parking lots and the campsite, you see all kinds of people. A few of us have strokes or other disabilities, but a lot of them are just bike people. Healthy, fast, strong riders who show up because they love recumbent trikes, love these trails, and love hanging out together. One evening, I'm there at the campground, sitting near the trailers and tents while people wander by. Riders, partners, friends. We sit inside and outside, talking slow, telling ride stories, laughing, looking at bikes and photos from the day. The conversations bounce around. Gearing, tires, favorite trails, tomorrow's ride plans. What I love is that nobody sits there staring at me as the stroke guy. They talk to me as another rider with a trike. For a while, I'm not thinking about MRIs, test results, or medical words. All I feel is free. Just a bike person in the middle of other bike people. Later, when things get quieter, I find myself talking with a couple of friends about the future. The words come slowly, but the idea is clear. Maybe someday we'll do something together for more stroke survivors. Maybe special rides, maybe a camp, maybe some kind of project we can't quite name yet. We don't have a plan, just a feeling that these three wheels of ours could carry more people into this kind of freedom. When the Idaho week finally ends, Will heads back to his place, taking home his own memories and his own sense of victory. The other riders roll away in their cars, trucks, and campers. My friend Dan Zimmerman is out there too that week at TaterTOT, another trike rider and stroke survivor, rolling his own miles in the middle of all these healthy, fast bike people. He's part of this three-wheeled world around me, even if this Hiawatha ride was just me and Will. And me? I fly back home to Connecticut. There's the routine of everyday life waiting for me. Dishes, emails, doctors, all the regular stuff that doesn't care if you just checked a dream ride off your list. But something is different now. On my mental wall, next to pictures of other rides, there's a big check mark next to Route of the Hiawatha. Bucket list ride, done. More than that, there's a quiet confidence. Because here's the truth. Some days I feel broken. My speech is hard. My arm doesn't work the way I want it to. The world sometimes moves faster than I can keep up with. But rides like this remind me that I am not broken. I am changed. I am challenged. I am still here. When I was rolling through that first long tunnel, past the deer at the mouth of the tunnel licking salt from the wall, I realized something. The tunnel is not the end of the story. It's just a part of the route. Stroke is like that too. You go into this long, scary tunnel where your life feels strange and it's hard to see the way forward. But if you keep moving, if you accept help, if you give yourself time, Eventually, you see a little light ahead, and then slowly you roll back into the open air. That's what the Hiawatha ride felt like for me. A physical picture of my recovery. Dust, sweat, laughter, fear, hope, friends, and views that take your breath away. If you're listening to this and you're a stroke survivor, or you love someone who had a stroke, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not your broken words. You are not your weak arm or your slow walk. Your story is still being written. Maybe your Hiawatha is not a mountain bike trail. Maybe it's walking to the end of the block. Maybe it's getting back into the pool. Maybe it's driving again or calling a friend you haven't spoken to since before your stroke. Whatever it is, I hope this story encourages you to chase it 1 mile at a time, one shaky step at a time, one deep breath at a time. For me, the route of the Hiawatha is now one more chapter in my roll toward recovery. A day when a guy with aphasia, carrying a little wallet card that says my intellect is fine, rolled through history and mountains and came out the other side a little stronger. When I think back on that day, here's the image that stays in my mind. I'm lying back in my trike at the overlook. The mountains are a green ocean all around me. The cables of the guardrail stretch across the view like the strings of a giant instrument. The sky is blue and the clouds are moving slowly. I can feel my heart calming down after the climb. I can hear the wind and the faint sound of someone else's bike in the distance. In that moment, there are no medical charts, no tests, no scary words like hemorrhage or deficit. There is just me, the trike, and the trail. And this simple thought, I made it here. Bucket list check. Thank you for riding this journey with me. If you enjoyed this story, share it with someone who needs a little hope. Maybe another stroke survivor, maybe a family member who thinks their adventure days are over. Tell them about the Hiawatha, about TaterTOT, and about a guy from Connecticut on 3 wheels who's still out there rolling. My name is Mike Weed. I'm a stroke survivor, and I ride the world on 3 wheels. This has been Roll Toward Recovery. See you on the next trail.